It's a Saturday night in March. It's Minnesota and it's cold. But Randy Weston has warmed us up, and he's exploring the new world of the acoustic piano. Not really. He never gave it up. But, Randy, I sat and listened with everyone else, and I wondered what you were discovering about your performance and the acoustic piano in 1978.
Well, it's taken a very definite turn because since 1974 now, in fact, the end of 1974, I've been playing a lot of solo piano, which is like a completely brand new world for me and giving me tremendous freedom. And I'm beginning to see the piano as an orchestra, which is what it is anyhow. But you know, when you tend to play in groups, you don't really get a chance to really apply yourself to concentrate on the instrument itself. So by playing solo now, I've been forced to really play more and more as an orchestra, and I rather enjoy it.
From orchestra to solo piano, I can hear brasses and reeds. And, for example, when you perform a composition like Chano Pozo and Dizzy Gillespie's Con Alma, I can almost hear a concerto. Is that true?
Yeah, you know what I do? When I play Dizzy's music, I don't necessarily think of this particular composition itself. I think of Dizzy and his personality. When I play a composition by Monk, I think of Monk and I think of his personality. So that's one. So I intend to, when I perform, I'm really thinking about them and the many ways that I know them, you know, from listening to them play, their personality, their humor, their wisdom. So it's almost like a portrait of a composer or a particular song.
What is the challenge in that keyboard and that acoustic sound?
Oh, the challenge is, I think, is concentration. I think that's the challenge. Challenging to realize that you've got a left hand and you got a right hand and you should use them. And realize the beauty of the full instrument from the highest note to the lowest note. And it's quite a challenge, you know, because, you know, as pianists, every night we have a different instrument. As you know, I don't mean every night, but I mean every time we perform someplace, you know, we usually have another instrument waiting for us. So we have to learn to adapt. And when we find a good piano, you know, and the piano has a wonderful warm sound, like this piano tonight, you know, it's a wonderful feeling, and it's very inspiring.
Inspiring to hear those comments about the acoustic piano in this age of amplification. The voice is Randy Weston, composer, soloist, and I hope one of these days we'll read the name conductor and a full orchestra. Randy, thanks so very much for talking with us from the Whole Coffee House, the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis in the Land of Lakes. This is Leigh Kamman for Minnesota Public Radio.
Wonderful. Leigh, thanks very much for inviting me. Hope to see you in the near future.
From the campus of the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, another session of the Whole Coffee House. It's after hours. Randy Weston has been at the keyboard, composing, improvising, expanding our minds. And as I listened to him, I wondered, Randy Weston, when you were growing up in Manhattan and Brooklyn, what kind of music were you listening to?
The best. In my home, my dad always had records by Count Basie, by Duke, by Jimmy Lunsford, Mills Brothers, Andy Kirk, you know, just the best music. And also in Brooklyn, I grew up with Max Roach and Cecil Payne and Duke Jordan and Ernie Henry and Leonard Hawkins and Pete Brown. There was so many fantastic artists in Brooklyn and also in New York. So I grew up in a tremendous period, you know.
Recapping a bit on some of those bands that you were listening to, just a brief comment. When you heard Basie for the first time, what did you think?
It was fantastic.
How about Jimmy Lunsford?
Fantastic. You're talking about the bosses now. You're talking about the big chiefs.
Well, those certainly were influences. How about on the classical side? Were there any influences where solo piano was concerned and where the concerto and the counterpoint entered in all those disciplines?
Well, ironically, I think my classical influence, which has come in many funny ways, mysterious ways. But Alban Berg has certainly been one of my favorite composers because I felt that his use of atonality with so much soul and so much beauty and warmth, that I certainly love listening to his music, and I'm sure he has influence on the things that I do.
Randy Weston and some of his feelings about growing up with piano and jazz in Brooklyn, New York, surrounded by Max Roach, Duke Jordan, Cecil Payne, Ray Copeland, and other prime influences. Randy, thank you so much. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much.
Randy Weston has been taking the cold out of the winter here in Minnesota, and he's been guest of the whole coffee house on the University of Minnesota Jazz Circuit on campus at the University of Minnesota, Minneapolis. Randy, I can remember seeing you, I think, around 1954 in New York City. You just joined forces with Orrin Keepnews and Bill Grauer in some Riverside projects. Seems to me since that time you've gone almost complete circle. That is, from 1954 to 78, you've made a journey that is from duo and trio recording, and here you are in the world of solo, and in between has been 6 years and Tangiers. You were a nightclub manager there, then you were a researcher out in the field, and somewhere around 1961 you found yourself in Nigeria. You'd been in the Berkshires, around the Lenox School, met Marshall Stearns. Kaleidoscope and compress for a moment, if you will. What does it mean to you?
It means that music is a spiritual power that is given to us by God to perform and to listen to. And it means that when you play music, music takes you many places on this earth. Music takes you to many people, And my experience has been through music. I have met some very, very, very wonderful, wonderful people all over the world, in the smallest villages, in the funniest countries, in the strangest languages and customs, So music is the international language, and I'm very happy to have been given a gift with music, because it's a gift. God gives it to us, and then he takes it away. But I'm very happy because all my life I wanted to go to Africa, because Africa is my ancestral home. It's my roots, it's my past, also my future. And I think it's the past and future of the world, because it's the richest place on earth, by far. So by going there and spending that time and listening to African musicians and seeing how they make drums and learning more about the science of music and how music is used in every way in life was very enlightening for me, And I began to see and understand more about music itself, you see.
Have you ever been haunted the way Duke Ellington was haunted by that search for the elusive melody?
No. No. I'm happy to play any melody. Because I remember when I first started to play, that's something, You never think you'd ever play that instrument, So I'm just happy just to play. No Duke. I met him,
Randy Weston, thanks so much. Well, that's spanning a lot of time there from 1954 to 78. And in that time, of course, and the deep influences of the African continent, you discovered something. There's a certain joy that you have that, we could all use. What do you call it?
I don't know. I guess it's love, I love music, and I love to play it. And when people respond to what I'm playing, you can't ask for any more than that. What more can you ask for in life, If you can communicate with people, and there's no barrier of religion or race or anything with music, It's the first language. So when I'm communicating with people who I don't know their names, I don't know them, they don't know me, but right away we have a communication of love, and I think that's very important. And music is the sacred art, and
Those are sacred words, Randy. Thanks much. Randy Weston from the Whole Coffee House on campus at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. This is Leigh Kamman.